Okay, so today we are going to talk about how to graph points. So every point is XY. Okay, and then if you guys want to follow along with me with highlighters, you can grab a highlighter, or I have a bucket up there. Feel free to help yourself. Okay, so you are going to move right if it is positive for the X. Okay, and you're going to move left if it's negative. Okay, now for the Y's, if it's positive, you're going to be going up, and if it's negative, you're going to be going down. Now, I know this is review for you, okay? I know that you've plotted points before. So just remember, every single point is an X and a Y. So you're either going left or right, or up or down. Okay, so the X is left or right, okay, and then the Y is up or down. Okay, so up is positive, down is negative. Left is negative, right is positive. Okay? Alright, so the first type of problems you're going to have are just going to ask you, tell how to graph each point. So you don't even have to plot it yet. You just have to say how. So for this one, you're going to say that you move 3 right on the X, okay, 5 down on the Y because it's negative. If you have a -4, you go 4 left on the X, 2 up on the Y, okay? Do you guys remember which axis is the x-axis? Is it the horizontal line or the vertical line for X? Yep, X is going to be horizontal, okay? So let's just write a little reminder. This is the x-axis. It goes straight across. And then the y-axis is what we call vertical, okay? So the up and down. All right, and then after we say how to graph, we are going to graph actual points. They use little arrows to show you how to do this. Like here's your point A. Notice that they label it A. So if you have -3, 4, you go left 3, up 4. This is 2, 0. So you would go over 2, and then if you go up 0, there's nowhere else to go. And then we're going to be labeling those points A, B, whatever they give us, okay? All right, so for these, we're going to tell how to graph each point. Okay, so the first one is 5, 8. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the X and we're going to look at the Y. Okay, so the 5 is on the X. And then, Ryan, can you tell me, for the X, where's that going to move? For the X, if X is +5, do you know where we're moving? Okay, so let's look back up here. Okay, so if X is 5, remember, X is left or right. Is the 5 positive or negative? Positive. So if it's the X, you're going to the right. So what we're going to say is we're going to start with move 5 units right. Okay, so that's the X. And now we're going to do the Y. Okay, so Gabe, can you tell me where the Y is telling us to go?
The Y is telling us to go up.
Yep, so we're just going to say and 8 units up. Good, so remember the Y tells you up or down. Okay, and then our next point that we're going to do is -2, 9. Will you give me a thumbs up if you think that you can write that without me starting it for you? Okay. And I do want you to start with the same language. So you're going to start with move. We like to move it, move it. Okay, and if you guys are feeling good, I'll give you number 3 too. And then we'll go over that together. morning. You're okay.
Everything messed up.
Okay, so Joseph, will you tell me the first one? What's the -2 telling us? Where are we going to move?
To move 2 units left.
Great. And what I love is you didn't put -2, right? So when you're doing this, the negative is just telling you left or right. So move 2 units left. And the y is similar to before. It's positive, right? So we should have and 9 units up. Okay. All right. Let's do this one. Bree, can you tell me what you put for 3, or what you would put if you haven't started it yet?
6 left.
Great. Yes. All right, so we're moving 6 units left because the x is negative, and then she said down 1 unit. And you can say 1 unit down, or you can say down 1 unit. All right, great work. Okay, now we are going to graph each point, and we're also going to talk about the quadrants. Do any of you know what the quadrants are? Oh, you guys do? Awesome. Okay, so then this will be a nice little review for you. So when you're doing the quadrants, I'm going to just put those at the side. Some of the questions you're going to be asking today, or being asked today, are going to say, hey, what quadrant is this in?
I just thought of a way to memorize it.
Okay, so you want to tell us? Go ahead.
Let's just say this quadrant is
Yeah.
positive.
Yes.
This
And,
one is negative positive.
and which one's the first one?
This one.
Yes, great. The positive is where you start. Yep. And then it goes around, it just goes around counterclockwise.
This one is positive.
Negative, positive, and this one's negative.
Negative.
Yep. And this one's positive, negative. That's exactly right. Okay, because each one has a side to it. So once you remember where you start, okay, they do go counterclockwise. It is a circular type of rotation, okay? Now, there are going to be some that are not on a quadrant, they're on an axis, and then we'll say that as well. So when you're graphing each point, you are going to start at 0, 0. So you're going to start at the origin. Okay, so let's plot A. So you have +4, and then you have -2. So you're going to label that A. All right, or else I won't know which is which. So when you have the letters there, I want you to do that. Now, for A, what quadrant is that in?
4.
Yep. So I'm just going to put Q4 next to it, okay? All right, and then I'll give you B and C. Okay, so let's do those. And again, I know that this stuff is review for you, but we're going to put this together with something else in just a few moments. Yep, you're right. Okay, so B, +2, +3. And remember, you're always doing the X one first. You have your X and then you have your Y. Okay, and then this is called B. What quadrant is that in? Yep. So I'm just going to put Q1. Okay, so -4, -3. So you go on the X and then you go on the Y. Alright, and that would be what quadrant? 3. Okay, now, the point D is 0, 0. This is a special point. Do you guys know what it's called? It starts with an O. Yeah, the origin, okay? So you wouldn't say the quadrant name, you would just say that this is the origin. Okay, and then for E, we have negative 1, 2, and we have 0, 4. Okay, so negative 1 up 2. Again, don't forget to label with your letters. And then, what quadrant is this going to be in? E. 2. Quadrant 2. Alright, and then you have 0, 4. 0, 4 and 4, 0 are easy to get confused. So remember, if you go 0 on the X, you're just going up 4 on the Y. Okay, this is the this is a Y-intercept. And so we say that this is on the Y-axis. So sometimes it won't be on a quadrant, it might be on an axis, and that's fine. So if it was on the X-axis, you would just say X-axis, okay? Okay, so now that we've talked about how to plot points, we're going to move on for how to plot functions, okay? How to plot graphs. So a big part of Algebra 1 is graphing functions, making sure that we can plot them. And we're going to start doing this with a table, okay? And what we use is something called ordered pairs. So they're going to say generate ordered pairs for an equation. Now this should look like your bell work, your warm-up today. Okay, so remember I gave you y equals an equation, and then they're going to give you the x values, and let's look and see where those x values go. So when they give you the x values, they're going to go in the input part of your table. Okay, that's going to be your x value, your input. Okay, your output, y, is going to give you a value so that you can put this in an ordered pair. An ordered pair is a coordinate point, just x and y, and this is exactly what we did for a bell work, right? We plug that in, we have the y equals negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So once you have that, you have your x and then you have your y. So see how this is your x is here. 0 is your x, then you put it there, okay? So a line is made up of many, many points. Do you guys know how many points there are on a line? There's an infinite amount, which means it goes on forever, okay? Now once you generate these points you are going to plot. So you can see they did this one for you. Negative 2, 5. Negative 1, negative 2. Okay, 0, 1. 1, 4. 2, 7. Once you're all done with them, you're going to take your straight edge. Okay, so I know that most of you got this when you came in. If you didn't, you're going to want that. And then with your straight edge, because these make a straight line, we're just going to connect those together. Okay, and then you're going to describe the pattern. Okay, so the pattern is, it's a straight line. Okay? Alright, so we're going to do this for a different type of function. So we just did a linear function. Okay, so this is a linear example. Okay, so this says generate the ordered pairs for, and we're going to fill that in. Now again, remember, when it says ordered pairs, what's an ordered pair? An ordered pair is just what? An ordered pair is, let's write it down if we're not sure. It's just an XY coordinate, okay? Another term for it is a coordinate point. Okay, so an ordered pair is just an XY point, okay? All right, so our equation is y equals x squared minus 2, okay? And we're going to use x equals -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to put all the x values in the input column. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to do the first one with you, and then I'm going to have you do the second one. So for your output, your y, in this box, I need to see your plug-in steps. So it's y equals, and instead of x, that's where we put the -2. And then we have to do our order of operations. So using the order of operations, I'm going to have to do my exponent first. So let's do that together in our calculator. What's -2 squared? You're either going to get 4 or -4. Which one is it? Do some of you need to grab your calculators? Do you get +4 or -4? What one is it? Positive. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. So this is 4 minus 2. What's 4 minus 2? 4 minus 2 is what? 2. Okay, so then my ordered pair is going to be my x, comma, my y. In fact, if you want to, you already know what all your x's are. If you want, you can put the first part of your ordered pair for all of them already. You know what all your x values are going to be. We just have to solve to find the y. Okay? So when you're plugging these in, I need to see your steps. So I need to see the -1 squared minus 2. So write this out step by step. Okay? So you're going to do each piece at a time. -1 squared, when you plug that into your calculator, the negative has to be in parentheses. If not, then you're going to get the incorrect answer. If it's in parentheses, it'll do -1 times -1, which is +1. And then what's 1 minus 2? 1 minus 2 is -1. Okay, so there's my point. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time right now to do 0, 1, and 2. And then we're going to graph those together. All right, you guys ready to check in? So we had 0 squared minus 2, which is 0 minus 2, so we should have got -2 here. And then for 1 squared minus 2 is just 1 minus 2, which will be -1. And then when you plugged in 2, you got 4 minus 2, which is 2. Okay, any questions for me on getting those points? All right, now what you're going to plot is the set of ordered pairs. Okay, so everything in this column, this is what we are going to put on our graph. Okay, all right, so let's plot this. So we have -2, +2, -1, -1, 0, -2, 1, -1, and then 2, 2. Now if I connect these points, they're connected with a curve. This is another type of graph you can have. Okay, what letter of the alphabet does that look like? It looks like a U, okay? So the pattern is the points form, and you can abbreviate points. The points form a U shape, okay? Anytime, see how you had x to the second power? If you have x squared in the equation, okay, it will be a U shape. Anytime you have that, it will be a U shape. Okay, so we're gonna do this one kind of together. This is to generate ordered pairs for, and then this is y equals the absolute value of x minus 4. Okay, now look at the x values. What do I do with the x values here? Where do I put them? Where do I put them? In the input. Okay, so these are all going in your input column. Okay, so can we do that right now? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I kind of like putting the first part of the ordered pair in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because we already know what the x is. Now we just have to find the y. Okay? I'm gonna do this first one with you, and then I'm gonna let you do the rest. Okay? So we have y equals. So if it's x minus 4 in the absolute value, we're going to do 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. But what's the absolute value of negative 2? 2. We got some Hulk colors going on here. Green and purple. We got some incredible Hulk colors going on here. Alright, so I want you guys to do the rest of this. Green and purple. Incredible Hulk. Mine. Yeah, my colors. Alright, so can you guys fill in the table? Alright, so every single time you do the absolute value, you should get a positive answer. So when you take the absolute value of a negative, it becomes positive. Alright, so I want you guys to check yours with mine, please. And I want you to make sure that you have all of your necessary work here. Okay, so 5 minus 4 is 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. The absolute value of 2 is 2. Okay, so all of these should be positive. Please double check that. Anytime you have the absolute value, okay, when you take the absolute value, it's going to be a positive output. So output is your y, okay?
Technically, 0 is a negative.
You're right, yep. Anytime it's 0, it will be 0. Yeah? Mm-hmm. I want you to finish this with us first, okay? Okay, what did you say the pattern was? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, okay? So when you go, you have 2, 2, you have 3, 1, you have 4, 0, you have 5, 1, and you have 6, 1. So that's exactly right. This is going to be a V shape. And so we're going to use our straight edge. This is just going to keep going in one direction. We're going to line these up. Okay, so we're just graphing some of the points. Remember, there's an infinite amount of points on here. So anytime you have the absolute value, it is going to be in the shape of a V. So you really have 3 different answers for that. So you're going to say the points make a V shape. And that happens every time for the absolute value. V shape for absolute value. Anytime you have absolute value, this is your pattern. Okay, so we're going to write the 3 patterns below. The patterns that you have are, it's going to make a line. That's going to be if you have a linear equation. A linear equation just has an x in it. We talked about the U shape. That's when you have a quadratic, which is x squared. And the one we just did is a V. Make sure I can tell your U's from your V's, okay? And that's your absolute value. So you would have the X in between the absolute value signs, okay?